President Trump is taking fresh aim at House Democrats who are using their new authorities to open or reopen investigations into the president. On Twitter, Mr. Trump claimed Democrats are, quote, stealing people who work at the White House. Olivia Gazis joins me now from Washington to explain what President Trump might be saying in that tweet. She's a CBS News intelligence reporter. Olivia, thanks for joining us. The president said committees are stealing people who work at the White House. What is he referring to?
Yeah, I think a lot of people sort of went, huh, when this tweet was issued this morning, because it wasn't immediately clear. But it turns out, it seems, what the president is calling stealing the House Intelligence Committee, in this case, it seemed to be a sort of oblique reference to them. They're saying it's a standard hiring practice. A committee aide told us today that the House Intel Committee had, in fact, hired some people with prior experience on the National Security Council, which they argue is relevant to both the committee's oversight work of the intelligence community and its Russia investigation. But that aide said that none of its staff had been hired directly from the White House. So it really doesn't appear to be a situation in which it's, poaching or stealing or otherwise recruiting people in order to gain an upper hand against the president.
Olivia, I wanted to turn to your extensive interview with Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Richard Burr. In your reporting, you note that the president hasn't reacted to the Senate's investigation, the Senate committee's investigation, the same way as the House committee. Senator Burr said, quote, when you don't do something in public, you don't become the target of criticism or praise, and that's fine with me. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Absolutely. To start, I think he sort of deftly sidestepped a question about why he hadn't drawn as much attention from the president, who we know follows these investigations pretty closely and has had a lot more to say about the House's investigation, both about its former chairman, Devin Nunes, who he said should get the Medal of Freedom, and its current chairman, Adam Schiff, who he's referred to in less than positive terms. But throughout his investigation, Burr has pretty assiduously avoided publicity related to what the Senate is doing. And the main reason for that, he said, is actually a national security concern, because he said the committee's investigators had been given access to highly classified information as part of this probe, things that could compromise sources and methods if they leaked. So his membership and his staff, much to the frustration of people like me, are really on lockdown. They give very few interviews. There are almost no leaks. And it looks like it has the added benefit of sort of staying out of the president's line of fire in Burr's case.
So when this investigation started, some Democrats were concerned about conflicts of interest regarding Senator Burr. Can you just explain what those were and what has been the senator's response to that?
Sure. It's true, and it dates back to even before the 2016 election took place, because Burr was actually part of then-candidate Donald Trump's national security team. That was alongside the likes of Jeff Sessions and Michael Flynn. And as it happened, the announcement was just hours before the Access Hollywood tape became public. And Burr stood by Trump then, and in the early days of the investigation, he even suggested that the Trump campaign would be off limits for the Senate committee's investigation. He made some early comments to the media that seemed to downplay the links between Trump's associates and Russia. And all of it put together put Democrats on edge and prompted calls from various corners for an independent commission to do this originally.
Well,
but then Burr,
okay.
Sorry. Just really quick, in terms of his response, he did some significant things, especially for a Republican. He came to the defense of James Comey after he was fired as FBI director. He pushed back on the president's claim that he had been wiretapped by the Obama administration. And he agreed to not do anything that he and the vice chairman didn't explicitly agree to do. So all of that went a long way in bolstering the bipartisan credentials of this investigation.
Right. Well, did he explain why the investigation is taking as long as it is?
Yes, and he's not happy about that fact, but he explained it in both a big picture sense and in a practical sense. The big picture sense, he said, is just that the universe of people that the committee had to talk to kept expanding. The more witnesses they heard from, the more documents they found, the more persons of interest kept popping up. So the committee just kept pulling at threads for these past 2 years, and will probably have to follow up on some specific counterintelligence concerns for a decade, if not more. And from a practical perspective, he just said that every witness that they added to a list would add 3 weeks to the committee's timeline between, scheduling and logistics and lots of lawyers. And then he said one thing which was really fascinating, which is that some witnesses actually said, I'll come in if you subpoena me, meaning he had to go through that process because they wanted the cover of being compelled so that they could cooperate with his investigation.
He wouldn't say who that was, right?
No, he would not.
Okay, just checking. Olivia Gazis. Olivia, fantastic to hear these remarks from the senator. He doesn't often speak to reporters. Olivia Gazis, thanks so much.
Thanks, Elaine.